times. This hangout is on air is live. There we go. So now we're officially the world can watch us. Probably gonna take 2 looks at us and go, no, we're not gonna do that. In fact, we may as well just go ahead and go to screen share so that we don't have to here. There we go. So basically, the big whole reason that we wanted to even do like the Google Hangout thing, Joel, just to let anybody who possibly could be watching, which is all 2 of them, I guess basically we just kind of both have a passion for this stuff now, right? Like for a while you were doing fine art stuff, and then you kind of started getting back into the concept design, which you always kind of dabbled in. Just to let everybody know, you and I both went to Ringling College of Art and Design, right?
Yeah.
And you graduated 2002?
That's right.
Okay, and I was 2003. So you then went off to Korea like a year after you graduated, right?
Less than a year. Yeah, I went off to Korea on what's called a working holiday, or also more honestly be framed as I just graduated art school and have no idea what the hell I'm going to do with my life.
Which I think is most people, right? Like I think, although you were doing a lot of fine art stuff, like your whole senior thesis show was just a shit ton of massive art pieces, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I was much more interested in that kind of thing at the time, and as much as I enjoyed it, it ran its course.
mm-hmm.
I really did enjoy spending a lot of time painting and thinking and having ideas which I could express on a canvas. Uh, but it's hard to make money with that, especially over here in Korea. And also, it just wasn't filling a need that I had uh, to produce. It's so much. It took so long. Let me say, it just took so damn long to make one painting, and I guess I have some form of ADD or just some desire to really get an idea out and then move on to the next idea. It was really hard for me to start a painting and then stay in that same frame of mind and develop that painting over weeks or months. So when I discovered digital painting, man, that's what I've been missing.
Which was kind of bizarre because like when you and I graduated from college at Ringling, I know when I went, yeah, same thing for you. Like they only had like one actual digital illustration course, right?
Computers. I had computer illustration, which was kind of its own thing. It wasn't like introduction to Photoshop and introduction to various programs. It was just computer illustration as a one-off course. And the only thing that I remember learning in that course was basically the Photoshop layering system and opacity and things like that.
What about Illustrator? Did you touch that at all?
I don't know if we did that at school or not. I can't remember. Maybe we did. I don't remember that though.
Yeah, when I went, it was we started with Illustrator and then we went to Photoshop. I think that's the process we did. Yeah, I think we did like vector stuff and then we went from that. And I honestly kind of went into that kind of kicking and screaming a little bit at first because I always wanted to do hands-on stuff. Like I had even like I wanted to go to illustration. I think like a lot of people back in those days, like they kind of went to illustration major because like they wanted to work for Disney Animation. Like they just wanted to do it. And at that point back then in the late 90s, everything was traditionally hand done. Toy Story had come out, but it was its whole other beast of a thing, and it was like at the time, it looked there was a million animation studios that were opening up after the success of Lion King, and part of the reason why I went to Ringling is because it was right there in Florida. Disney Animation was hiring from there all the time, and literally it was like we had this figure drawing workshop called Fuse, Figure Enhancement Workshop for Students, which was every night from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, if you wanted to go. And I had heard before I went there that Disney recruiters would go there and like literally like watch you do a few sessions, and after a few sessions just kind of take you to the side and go, hey, let's come here, we'll talk, and you'd have a job by the end of the day. And I went, okay, that sounds like it's worth the price of tuition, and I went there, and as I went there, like pretty much that traditional animation industry just died while I was going to school.
Cool. It kind of a terrible time actually, because the entire industry was transitioning, whether we wanted whether we knew it or not, was
Mhm.
transitioning into digital and into 3D. So all of the
Right.
stuff that like we're doing now, everything you see me doing here on my screen, it's like that stuff we
This
had
is
to
all
figure out
self-learned at this
on
point, right?
YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. This is all self-motivated at this point. This is us wanting to still stay relevant and empowering ourselves to do this shit, you know. And so that's, I mean, you always kind of had a knack for the technology. After I took that first digital illustration course, I don't know. I've always had like a knack for like realizing what the future would be when a good piece of technology falls in my lap like that.
Man, look at
And I
you.
immediately was like, "Oh my God, this is the future!" And I immediately went to. I had Octavio Perez was my professor that I had at that time. He was brand new. It was his first year there, but he was a really great teacher and a really great artist too. And so it's like he could really back up the shit that he was teaching. And I pretty much became a huge advocate of him afterwards. It was like, okay, anybody that's here needs to take him. He's awesome. He's great. He teaches really well. He's really talented. And then in addition to that, like after that, the next year, I was like, yo, I need to take a. I want to take a. What's that you got? You're showing off.
Can you focus that? Can you see that? Can you see what it says?
Um,
No.
Into us too. Okay, so you got old school shit right there, dude.
This is the same tablet that I bought for that computer illustration course in what 2000 or 2001, I guess. I had this same digital tablet the whole time, and it's been here with me in Korea. And like I tried to take it out a couple of times here or there. Uh, and I didn't get into it as quickly as I thought I should be able to. Like
Right.
I dabbled around in Painter, I tried Photoshop and stuff, but because I had spent so long just doing hands-on stuff, the kind of stuff that we're talking about that we do, that we did at Ringling, uh, it just didn't come as quickly as I thought it should. And man, I wish I hadn't put it away as quickly as I did. There was just a little hump that I had to get over until
Right.
acclimating
Just getting
myself.
used to the tools and stuff,
Right.
right? Well,
So,
actually, even now, like here, like I've got my my
oh,
Into Us too right there also.
that's so
So,
cool.
well, I mean, if it ain't broke, it ain't don't fix. You don't have to fix it, right? And so I hate like until this new computer setup I got right here. I was using Windows XP because I had the free OS. So I was like, well, I ain't gonna drop like any more money towards Microsoft if I can help it. And then just recently, I got this gifted from a group of people that just had these lying around, and I was like, well, we've upgraded, so here's you can get our old 2004 edition of a Cintiq. And so I finally got a Cintiq. So the shitty thing was I didn't have a pen, so I had to go off and find a pen. The only thing I could find was a Chinese knockoff for the stylus, because that's the one shitty thing Wacom does is where it's like, here's the one stylus you have for the Intuos 2, here's one that you have for this. And when I used to work,
The manufacturer, like, oh yeah, we'll sell you the pen, but you have to
dude,
buy it.
no. I tried that, dude. I actually called them. I actually emailed them and said, "Hey, I need a stylus for this Cintiq that I got." And they went, "Yeah, that one's 10 years old. We do have newer editions you can buy." I was like, I know, but this is the only thing I could get. So do you have any in your warehouse? And they said, no, we don't. That Chinese knockoff, go get that. That's the closest you're gonna get. And so it's like that's what I'm stuck with now is this thing. But until recently, I never even had a Cintiq and stuff, and that kind of. I mean, once you have a Cintiq, it's really like you don't want to go back. It's like the only thing that's weird about this, and I think I have to blame the Chinese knockoff for this, is that it doesn't, or maybe it's just because it's an older version of a Cintiq and they've just updated stuff. But here I'll even show you where I'll switch over to my other monitor over here where I got my Intuos 2. Because with the Intuos 2 in CS6, there's this one thing you can do. I'll go ahead and whenever I'm doing like architectural renderings of stuff, I'll use like a flat stylus kind of pen because there's usually a lot of flat shapes you can do. So I kind of made up this pen where it's got a little bit of like a little brush stroke kind of look to it a little bit there and stuff, but you can still kind of go off here and get some decent shapes with it and stuff like that. So this is just something
I don't see what's happening.
oh, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't. You know what happened? I didn't screen share to the proper thing. Hang on a second here. I will put this to there and see if that works. Can you see the dragons now?
Fantastic.
Okay, there we go. All right, so here you go. So here's like a stylus that I had. Here's a paintbrush that I made. It's flat. It's got a little bit of the organic look to it over here. When you paint, and so if you're doing something like just real super quick, uber retarded demo over here. So if it's really kind of nice for any kind of architectural things that you're doing and stuff like that, because it's so that you're just going to go ahead and make a building and stuff like that. Okay, well, just from a few simple strokes, you can just sit there and just get the basic flavor of what you need for a building and stuff like that, and do that. You can even do like little things like if you want to get some kind of texture kind of thing going on like that, you can go ahead and modify it. So okay, so now if I want to have this be a textured thing, I could just, and now you got that kind of texture thing going on with it here.
Oh, that's fancy.
Just like that. So it's there's a lot of little cheats that you can do like that with these kind of things, which I definitely have, I've lost a lot of my pens since I switched up to a whole new system and stuff like that. But I used to do the same exact thing with like tire tread, so I'd have a tire pattern and just you could do that kind of thing with a tire tread and stuff like that. In addition to a bazillion other things. But so yeah, so like little things like that. So you can even see like now, or you can see like the stylus is tilting as I tilt my hand. It tilts the angle of the brush. But with my Chinese knockoff, it won't do that at all. So that it'll just be stuck in this this kind of the flat angle and just. So I'm kind of grateful I still have my Intuos 2 around, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to take advantage of that at all. So now back to my.
It doesn't have tilt detection, but it still has pressure sensitivity, right?
Yes, that's the weird thing. It still has the pressure sensitivity and stuff like that.
That's the most important thing. I mean, I don't think I've used the tilt function on my pen ever.
Well, it's so funny. It's one of those things where it's like until you don't have it, you don't realize what you're missing out on. And once you do have it, you don't want to ever not be without it. So now that I have this here, it's like, yeah, you see, it automatically defaults to this when I'm on my Cintiq now, because I have a Chinese knockoff and stuff. So I've been looking on eBay and every place else for even just a one that somebody might be selling and stuff. But the crazy thing about this used Cintiq I got is like even used online, it's going for like $1,000 a piece, and that's a decade-old piece of hardware. So I'm like, the fact that I was just able to, somebody gave it to me, I was like, okay, thanks.
I don't suppose they gave you 2, did they?
What's that?
I don't suppose they gave you 2, did they?
No, afraid not. So either way, it was nice to have it for sure. And plus, and it's like when the one I had at work was the most recent. Well, actually, it was the most recent one, because I guess the most recent one now is the Cintiq Companion, which is portable. You can take it with you. And it's basically like a good Cintiq that's like a tablet basically. It's finally they finally kind of broke through and got like a good tablet version. But the one I had over at work was the 26-incher. Which the box it comes in is friggin' massive, dude. Because this is What's that?
I hear it's like 70 pounds or something. The whole thing.
It probably is. I wouldn't be surprised, because it's like they have to. It's an expensive $2,500 piece of software hardware that they get you. So it's like they don't want this thing to be broken in any way, shape, or form. So they just got tons of styrofoam around it and everything else, and it's like that's. So like taking it apart and opening it up is just like this crazy endeavor you got to go through to do. So this is only a 17 or 18-inch that I got for this one, but the cool thing about it is that actually it's not as cool as I thought it would be, because I thought I'd be using a lot more, but it actually tilts. So you can do like a lot more of a manual kind of thing.
As well.
But I think the biggest reason why I did that is because 10 years ago, when you had Photoshop, they didn't have the rotate option anymore yet. So nowadays, when you have Photoshop, you just I think the defaults are R, and you can just do that kind of thing. So that's a new thing.
Well, it's also just a little more natural too, just to rotate the paper like as you see it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially with me, it's like the way that I hold my hand is really bizarre. Like it's uh, like basically, it's you would think I'm like completely retarded with the way that I hold my pen. I don't know if I can. It's so hard to sit there and try to. There we go. But yeah, it's like I just kind of mash my hand together with it, and it's got this pen in between it. I'm gonna draw. So, but the weird thing about that is like when I am drawing, it's like I kind of have this natural tendency to kind of just this my the wrist angle, whatever that is, that'll kind of do my drawing for me and stuff like that. So people will say like, oh, you've got some weird, I always get blamed for doing like cartoony drawings, but part of the reason why is I think now I've kind of reflected on this recently, but I think the reason why is because just my hand has a tendency just to do that kind of thing with the pen where it just goes like that stuff. So it would help if I screen shared so you could see what I did. There you go. So yeah, so it's just like, so yeah, so just that's the natural angle my hand always wants to go is that way.
I wonder what mine is. Let me take a look. What do I get here?
You seem much more. Yeah, okay. You're not nearly as angular as mine is.
I do more from my elbow and my shoulder.
Oh, do you? Put your whole body into it, don't you?
Well, yeah. Well, that's what they tell us, right? If you go from your wrist, then it's a lot harder to maintain your control. Like you have a much. It's great for details, when you work from the wrist. But if you want to do like a circle like this, it's a lot harder to get a nice clean circle. You have to just get a big stroke from
so,
the elbow.
so do like a clean circle if you can right now. Let me see how yours is.
A circle or an oval?
Yeah, just a circle, I guess. All right, because like for mine, it's just like that's me using that base of my palm basically as the basis for rotating it.
Yeah, this is something that Scott Robertson recommends you do. Is just have a page in your sketchbook where you just do ovals and circles for 10 minutes or so. It's good warm up, and it's good mechanical practice.
Yeah, but what does that fucking guy know? Oh, wait, a lot. Just yeah, he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. Yeah, and I love that nowadays that kind of stuff is out there. Because once again, when we were going to college, like that was not available, was it? Like it really, like I think they were just starting to do that stuff. And
There seems to be a new kind of system forming, at least in our field, of learning a whole lot by yourself on YouTube.
mm-hmm.
And once you reach a certain level, you're going to need to basically go to some kind of trade school, like Fengju's design school down there in Singapore or Noman School in LA,
Mm-hmm.
to polish off the last 5 or 10% of your skills that you haven't been able to do by yourself.
Well, and you got to give major props to those companies for those guys for doing that kind of stuff too, because it's like when we were going to Ringling. I don't know how much it was for you the last year, but for me the last year it was $18,000, which yeah, for the 2 semesters, right? And that was not including room and board. That was just and I think I was even part time that last semester. Um, but like now for that same college we go to for Ringling, it's 52 G's a year, which means if you're doing loans and you're deferring all payments, that you're going to owe about $230,000 when you graduate,
Yeah,
which
I
is
believe
criminal.
that it costs as much, if not slightly more, than I believe a Harvard law degree.
Right, right. And at least you're going to get paid well when you do that, but your average entry level art job is going to get you 30 G's if you're lucky. If you're lucky. I think my first one, they were like, okay, we'll give you 28. And that's because you know Flash. If you didn't know Flash, we'd give you less. I was like, awesome, great. So yeah, and still to this day, I come across, when I lived in South Florida and I started looking for new jobs because I just wanted to get out, it was like, what was it? Like I found like a job where they wanted a graphic designer slash web designer slash video editor, and they wanted to pay like 32 G's a year. And I was like, see, you basically want to wear like 3 hats. You want me one person to have 3 jobs. and you're not even willing to pay like well enough for one of those
Right.
positions. Well, that's all we get for the budget right now. I'm like, well, you're not going to do very well then. I'm like, good luck with anything. You can get one of those, but you can't get all three of those.
Sure. Well, that's well, it's their job to do as much as they can with as little as they've got, and it's your job to try and get as much out of them as you can while doing as little as you can.
Yeah. I guess I mean it's the thing that sucked about South Florida is like I guess there's like a lot of art and design schools within a small range of space
Right.
and no place to go except for Cuba. So it's just like unless you got out of there, which is kind of part of the reason why I got out of there and stuff like that, because it was just like I started looking around for like real professional gigs and they just didn't exist, and if they did, they weren't paying worth a crap. And I just had a kid, and I was like, all right, well, I got to go someplace for those jobs, and like Las Vegas just happened to have a ton of gaming companies here, and a ton of type of positions like that, and a ton of other like just peripheral jobs that were kind of related to that. And I went, okay, this works well. Oh, and you're also 4 hours away from Las Vegas, so I mean not Las Vegas, Los Angeles. So if I got a storyboarding gig over there, well, it's only a short drive away, and if it's for a film thing, they got plenty of money to do per diem and all other stuff, and it'll pay pretty well and stuff. So it seemed like a reasonable gamble versus sticking out in the ass end of Florida and hoping something else would come along that would work out.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you did that. Actually, it seems to be working out pretty well for you. And I got to say, from my vantage point over here in Korea, I was quite envious that you were able to do that. After a couple of years here, like I just got stuck in a rut, man, just doing nothing really.
Well, it was. I won't lie. It was a tough thing to be able to pull off. I mean, especially with I had a wife that just had gotten promoted to a new job, and so like when I got an offer with IGT out here, it seemed like a great thing. But they basically gave me two phone interviews, and they said, "Come on out," and I went, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, come on out." I said, "Don't I meet like the team face to face and stuff?" I said, "No, no, no. We know them, but we know the good ones by now and stuff, and you're good to go." But the problem was like, but I didn't know anything about the company at that point as far as like what their reputation was or what the job would be like or what the people would be like. And so my wife had just gotten promoted 3 months earlier to a job, and I said, well, I said before you go off and move the entire before you go with me to move the entire family out here, and all of a sudden have me find out that it's a horrible mistake I just made. Um, Hang out here with the kid for a month. They're putting me up in an apartment for a month, and we'll play it out from there. And she went, okay. And it was tough for her, but it would have been a hell of a lot tougher if she moved out here and we found out it was a sweatshop or something like that.
Yeah, my wife
So
and I are going through the exact same problem right now, and we're basically going to do the same thing. The only difference is, I guess, going from Florida to Las Vegas is a little bit easier than going from South Korea to LA, but
what? so she's gonna hang out there for a while you're doing the whole Nomenon thing, right?
Nomenon. Welcome to the Nomenon. The
Wait,
Nomen.
how's it said? I've heard like 20 different ways how it's said. Is it Nomon?
Well, I believe it's Nomen. I've never heard
Nomen?
Nomen.
Okay, all right.
I like the sound of it. It's pretty cool.
There's a lot of vowels in it. That's all I'm saying.
So my wife will be here taking care of her lovely little daughter for the summer, and I'm going to do a summer term there, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
If it seems like the kind of thing that we want to continue doing, then we'll go back for the winter term and just move the whole family out there.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you just gotta take that leap of faith, dude. And if you get good drives from the first session, yeah, you just gotta do it, man. So it's a rough thing to do, especially when you have a kid involved. It's like when we think about all the I mean, like you moving to Korea back in the day. It's like that seems kind of crazy, but at the same time, it was only you, right?
Yeah,
And it's like so God.
22. Yeah.
Right, and you're 22, so it's like, God forbid it blew up in your face. Okay, fine. Well, you're 22 and you're young, and you can move back, and your folks could get you a ticket back, worst case scenario, and you can go from there, right?
Yeah, well, we got to deal with responsibility.
Yeah, well, the biggest problem is like when you fail now you have to answer to somebody. When you're younger, it's like you could just fail and there's no witnesses, right? Just thank God that's over with and nobody saw that happen. All right, so it's and then you get older and you have to be a little more risk averse, unfortunately,
Yeah.
which sucks because that's just so against my nature in certain respects. Like I like to there's I mean even when I was at Ringling I was just getting some freelance commissions. Like there was things that I had about 50% idea of what I could do, and the other 50% I was pretty like, I'll figure it out, and I usually did. So it was actually I always did. I don't think there's any time I couldn't deliver on a project for a client. So that worked out okay. So you moved on to landscapes, eh?
I'm just sticking around here while we're
Oh,
talking.
okay. So at this point here, we'll pick a dragon for me. I guess is the thing you need to do here because I've got the four over here. Well, let's just go through them real quick over here and just process of elimination.
All right. Well, yeah. So I guess what we're talking about is we're going to have some kind of dragon contest between the two of us, or
Well, just we're just gonna friendly competition or just a friendly motivation more than anything, honestly.
sure.
And so it's just to kind of keep us doing the stuff that we like to do and everything. And so I just I've always it's so funny because it's just one of those things where you go, I want to draw a cool dragon, and I've never gotten around to it. Like if you look at my website conceptcreature.com, it's like there's a million things on there, but I don't think there's a single dragon. And part of it is just because I've never gotten paid to do one, and then sometimes you just get overwhelmed with other responsibilities from other clients, like I have recently. And even like doing this hangout, you've been trying to put this together for months now, right? And so,
A couple of weeks we had we had a couple of fails.
well, we had the one fail last week, but that was a technology thing. But then like the week before that, you tried to like, hey, let's do this week. And I was like, no, I can't. I've got shit I gotta do. I've got deadlines. I can't possibly pull this off right now. And so it became a matter of just time, really. And especially when you have a little kid, or what I love to call my time vampire. Time vampire. It's it just any spare second you got and they're awake, they're just going to be distracting you, and it's. Do you remember we uh, just to let everybody else that could possibly be listening on this, like the way that me and Joel ended up hanging out and being friends was like we had an art history class together, right?
Is that what it was? I can't remember even.
I think that's what it was. And it was definitely through Ringling, and I ended up getting this I had this one art gig that I had for this World War II themed restaurant down in Venice, Florida.
Yeah, that's right.
And so from there, like after I did like the art thing, the guy's like, yeah, you know any friends buddies of yours that and like the art gig was great because it paid really good, but of course like any art gig it was kind of inconsistent, and so then at that point, he had this whole restaurant that he had to like refurb and make it all World War II themed and just have a lot of grunt work that needed to get done. And he was like, "Yeah, do you know any kids out there in college that want?" The guy was from like the Bronx over in New York, so he was like,
That
any,
accent too much.
yeah. So he's like, any friends of yours that want to get paid $12 an hour, tax free, under the table, just cashing in at the end of each month, each week? And I was like, yeah, me. Make your own schedule up. I'm like, make my own schedule up? Really? Just come when I want to and just get money and not have to worry about
In
it?
contrast to Jason, I of course paid my taxes regularly, so
Lies, lies. And so like and so the so then but he needed he just needed some other people beyond me just to do the grunt work. And so then you were like the only one that stuck it out, didn't you, Joel? Like I think I brought like four other people on, and like in hindsight it was like a horrible job, right? Like it was just real. I mean, like
I
yeah,
worked
well,
over the summer as a server at the restaurant.
right. I know. Well, that didn't last too long. It was just such a schlep for you to do that. And you do it up in Sarasota versus going all the way the fuck down there.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, but it was just like I love the flight. But like most of my friends were like, "Well, this is like hard work," and I'm like, "Yeah, but it's like it's good money, and you can make your own schedule, and it's the check's always clear. So who gives a crap? And still, it's just a. I mean, honestly, as far as like art clients go, he was the most consistent one that you and I both had, right? Because you ended up getting more artwork from it also in the end of the whole
Yeah,
thing
I
for
did
his next
definitely
restaurant.
one, which I did some pretty cool pieces out of that, and I don't think I have any photos of it.
That's
Pretty
a,
much happened like right before the advent of digital, like of affordable digital cameras.
did you have? Well, I think most of you still had like some digital files too. Like you did his illustration for his Italian restaurant, right?
Yeah. I think I did. Yeah, I did a couple things. That's right. I did like a T-shirt design or something for him, but I had
Right.
no idea what I was doing. I think I just did a. Gosh, I can't even remember what I did. It was just so bad.
You
Whatever it
just try
was.
to figure it out as you went along, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So either way, like you and I ended up like consistently doing that, I think, and that's how that all came about to us hanging out and stuff like that. And then like I think I was always obsessed with the gaming aspect of stuff, right? And you kind of dabbled in it a little bit, right? Like you wanted to do 3D initially, right?
Yeah, the original reason I applied to Ringling, the original thing I wanted to do was be a computer animator. And I applied, I think, like a week too late, or my math score was low. I think it was because I applied late, actually, but not too late. It's not like I applied a month into the semester. I just missed a deadline by like a day or two.
But you never applied to like change majors or anything like that.
No, and I don't know why I didn't. I think actually if I had done so, it would have been better for my career in the long run.
I actually went through all the process of jumping all through all the hoops and hurdles to get into computer animation, and they didn't even tell me until the first day of school for the next year, actually my sophomore year. And then I got my schedule, and it was like all these classes that I was like, what the hell is this? Like intro to animation and intro to 3D animation. What the hell is this? And they're like, oh, well, your transfer went through, and I went, oh. And for some stupid reason, this is such a game changer for my life. I went, now I'll stick with illustration. And I think I know why. It was because the schedule was all over the place. Like there was one class that was like in the morning, the other one was late at night. There was like four or 5 days that I had to be like doing a class of some sort, and like I had to work. Like I had to do some kind of job of some sort. And I think by that point I had like Sarasota like just was dead during the summertime, and I had gone from like that last month of college. I had 3 freelance jobs back to back to back that all paid really well, and I was like, holy shit, if I can keep this up for the whole year, I'm gonna just this whole semester, the whole summer, I'm gonna go to Greece and I'll have a great summertime, like and just knock this out. But then I didn't realize like come summertime, like sort of just like cleared up. Like after Easter, like everybody went away, and so I went from having like 3 freelance gigs and like going, great, I'll have a lot of money doing what I love to do and building my portfolio, and it'll be great, and I'll have this great trip and blah blah blah, to like, oh shit, now what? And so all this money I had stockpiled was like just slowly dwindling out. And my mom's like, you got to get a real job, and I was like, no, I'll be okay. And then I ended up getting like one giant mural job, which sucked and didn't pay nearly as much as I should have, and that was able to pay off my credit cards that I was starting to accumulate at that point. But then at that point I said, okay, I got to go off and get a real job. And so I got a job at Barnes & Noble as a bookseller just to make some kind of consistent money.
I'm so glad that I never got a credit card when I was in school.
Oh, it would have screwed you. Yeah. It was really funny too, because like I didn't know, like Discover had actually was over there on the Ringling campus and said, hey, do you want to apply for this? And I had applied for like 3 cards, like I think 7 or 8 months earlier, and I got red flagged because I applied for 3 credit cards at the same time. One of them was like a gas card even, and they said, we're not going to give it to you. And I said, why? And they said, well, you're looking for 3 credit cards at the same time. If you're applying for 3 credit cards at the same time with your bank account, obviously you're looking for some quick money to like just finagle. Like obviously you're a high risk. Obviously you're desperate for cash. I was like, no, I just wanted to get a credit card, and I just figured the more I applied for, the better chances I had of getting one of them. And it turns out I ended up like red flagging myself. So I didn't think for a second I was going to get the Discover one, and lo and behold, I did. And like that started a slow and agonizing bunch of suffering by the end of it. I think by the time
a downward spiral, I believe, is the phrase you're looking for.
by the time I graduated from college, I had $60,000 worth of student loan debt and $15,000 worth of credit card debt.
Hey.
So in one of my lovely Bank of America credit cards, they jacked my rate up from 15% to 25%. And I said, why the hell did you do that? And they said, oh, because you're a bigger risk. You're a financial risk for defaulting. I said, wait, I have a real job now, a real professional job, and I'm making more. I have more money in the bank now than I ever have in my life, and I've eliminated debt more than I ever have in my life. So when you gave me the credit card, I had a job making minimum wage, and I was doing nothing I had nothing in my bank account. So that's kind of shenanigans because I actually am in a better status now than I ever was back when you first gave me a credit card.
Which means that you can afford to pay the increased price.
Well, they were saying that I was a higher risk now than I was then. I'm like, no, that's not true. So, so either way, yeah, don't ever get credit cards if you can. Just work your ass off. That's what my wife did, and it paid off well for her. And that's that. So either way, now we're going back and we're gonna go ahead and start doing more of what we love to do, which is the fantasy stuff, the concept development stuff.
No,
So.
Fantasy, actually, you were more into the fantasy. I was more into the sci-fi stuff.
Oh, that's true. You were. You like the buildings and you like the spaceships and stuff like that. That's very true. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I loved fantasy, but I don't know what age it was. But like at some point of just armor and swords and stuff, lost interest for me because it just seemed like, well, it didn't have that taste of realism to it that I liked from science fiction. Even though science fiction is just tech magic, it seems like
Right.
something could be possible someday, and you can kind of understand the mechanisms which are at work behind the technology. Like, oh, they use some kind of electricity. Okay, I know electricity exists.
Right. Or there's some kind of power source, right? So it's just like some kind of means of propulsion if it's a spaceship. It's some kind of weapon that's probably a laser of some sort, or missile, and that's going to be the way it's going to do it. See, I think that's the thing that always never appealed to. Well, I mean, obviously sci-fi I still enjoy a lot, but it's like I think what I gravitated more towards with the fantasy aspect of it is that you could really you could build worlds a lot better because it's like. A spaceship's going to be metallic, probably. It's probably going to be, or some kind of contingent of that, right? It's going to be in space. Space is usually boring and black. It's always going to have some kind of tech kind of weapon. It's not going to be anything that's going to be more dynamic than that, probably. Robots, you can have more lenient. You can be more lenient with those for sure. Lenient with those, but overall, it just seemed like there was a certain kind of convention that went with that.
Well, sure,
That fantasy was able to just at least kind of break the rules a little bit about. I mean, obviously, still, if it's fantasy, it's probably gonna have some magic to it. It's probably gonna have a wizard. It's probably gonna have a knight. It's probably gonna have swords. I'm sure you'd sit there and
the same thing actually. We just have no. Well, what do they say? There's no accounting for taste, right?
Yeah, exactly. I guess there's no real justification beyond I like it. That's about it. So
we do go to great lengths to try and justify those differences, don't we?
I guess we do. It really is, which is always the thing.
Better than fantasy because reasons A, B, C, and D.
Yeah, which is kind of why I stopped, arguing politics with people. Because first off, I just don't give a crap anymore, and secondly, it's like there's nothing that you can say to change anybody's bullshit story that they believe versus the bullshit story you believe, and it's all bullshit. So let's just not have this argument and waste that energy. Okay, so anyways, let's talk about our dragons then and figure out where we want to go from here.
Yeah. So actually, these background things that I'm doing right now are going to be background environments for the dragon, for potential dragons that I'm thinking about. When I'm looking what's on your screen, I quite like the most developed dragon you have there on the far right.
This one?
I would suggest making the neck a little bit longer because it seems a little more horsey than dragony to me, just because of the stout neck.
Well, see, here's the problem is like, well, this is my method behind the madness is like he's got this massive piece of bone armor up here. Well, not necessarily armor, just bone structure. It's obviously going to weigh a lot. Even like the whole part of him here is like he just has this really thick hide. And typically, animals that have a pretty thick hide are pretty not masculine, muscular, just to move that mass around. I'm even debating if he would even have wings, really, because I mean he's so thick and so heavy that what kind of structure would be able to get him off the ground as far as wings go and stuff? I mean,
Well,
he
that's
might
one
just
of
be more of a land dragon kind of thing.
that's one of the characteristics of a dragon, though. We were talking earlier, I think, before we started recording, about the uh, what is it? The ratio of what you need between recognizable in the genre and unique features. And it, at least when I think of a dragon, I always consider something with some kind of wings. If it is a dragon, just a regular dragon, and if it's an underwater dragon, more of a serpent, then it would also have some kind of large appendages to help it move through the water. Otherwise, it would just look like a snake.
Yeah, I suppose so. But at the same time, like, are we
And move it around a little bit. Make another like a long neck version of it. If you don't like the way it looks, then by all means, there's no reason to keep pursuing it.
Yeah, so I guess at this point, now that you've picked, now that the fates have decided that I'm going to do this one over here, and I guess at this point it's a matter of trying to figure out if we can make a shape that would justify that, right? And if the short neck does work, or if that it's just too short at that point. So, because I really wanted to kind of sit here and just kind of make the rest of the mask just continue to kind of have that same kind of feel to it there, because obviously when you're going to sit there and make any kind of shape, one of the things that they tell you to do with any kind of shape, assuming that it's going to be used for a gaming perspective or whatever, is that it works well in silhouette. So if it's at this size, it's as recognizable as if it's this size and stuff like that. So that's something that we're going to have to figure out here at this point, if it's something that's gonna work. So which dragon did you pick a dragon that you wanted to do and stuff, or where did we leave off with you as far as your assignment goes here?
I just had the one that I developed to a finish already because I wasn't quite clear what we were going to be doing with that kind of thing. Let's see here. What have we got? Let me just open recent. I already forgot where I put everything. Open recent. Bird creature purple. Oh, that's very descriptive.
How poetic.
Yeah, it's the first line of a haiku, right? So this is what I got, just different colors. But now that I look at it, it's just not a dragon to me. I don't think I finished what I was saying earlier. Like, it needs to be 80% kind of within your standard dragon guideline. Dragon basically being big-bodied with wings and having some kind of not necessarily scales or anything, but it's got to have like a big long tail. Mine's just too much like a dinosaur bird creature.
Can you zoom in a little bit on the body there and stuff, so just to see the texture a little bit better and stuff? So do you think like maybe the compromise would be just kind of like changing the texture more to like a scaly thing versus a feathery kind of thing?
Well, if I change the feathers, yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Let's go ahead and take one of these.
Because I mean, he can have kind of like just leathery kind of bat wings, right? And that might be enough to.
Sure. Well, while you're doing your thing, I'll do my thing, and well, look at each other's things when we're done with our things. I don't think that came out the way I wanted it.
No, it sure didn't. or did it?
You'll have to forgive me. My English really has gotten bad since I've been gone.
Seriously?
It's not a joke.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how your brain will hold on to things that it wants to hold on to, and then get rid of the stuff that's like, well, you're not using this very much anymore, so we're gonna throw this away. Yeah, especially as I get older, and it's like you have a kid and you have to start retaining information that keeps them alive. You suddenly are just like, oh, what's that one name of the whoever? I don't care. All right, cool, moving on.
The one name of the whoever.
Yeah, it's just like you realize it must not matter if you don't remember. Must have been important at some point, but not anymore. I'm gonna pull up some reference while we're doing this over here and see if look at some different animals that might be a good thing to kind of go off of.
Oh yeah, since we're on the subject of that, I've got a little book here by Terrell Whitlatch. Let me show it to you.
Oh, she's amazing. Good God, she's amazing. I'm so bloody jealous of that bitch. She's just like I have a DVD of hers where she does that stuff, and it's so annoying when you like when you see people that are really good at yeah, that's it. Yeah, that just came out recently, like a year or two ago, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's put out by Scott Robertson's.
Yeah, yeah, they're all typically if it's any of those really good artists like that, they're typically put out by the
So,
same publisher.
I was reading up on her, and this is a lesson that I've been learning time and time and time again over the past few years as I've been training myself up on this digital stuff. Um, the the drawing techniques are something that anyone can learn. It's the thinking behind it, which is really what separates a good design from an average design. And one reason why um, Tara Whitlatch has such cool designs is because she studied the anatomy and she knows so much about the animals and the anatomy that makes up the animals and how they're put together that she can kind of riff on that and make really cool designs that look plausible. And that's the whole point, right? You need to have something that looks like it makes some kind of sense.
I don't know if it was her or if it was another artist over there at ILM that started getting kind of annoying about how good they are with anatomy with animals because it was like they
What, they were bragging about it, or?
no. It almost kind of ruined it because they were so accurate with their shit. And so I think it was in the design of Jar Jar Binks, where he's an amphibious creature, and so I don't know if it was her or another artist that was really good at it that started like critiquing the way it looked, and they said, "Well, what's wrong with it?" He goes, "Well, if Jar Jar is amphibious, his lungs wouldn't be that shape." It
Right.
was like, yeah, okay, but it is a fantasy thing, and it is kind of
Well,
bipedal and da da da.
yeah, that's one of the difficult things that you have to deal with, right? Is when do you take artistic license?
Right. When do you kind of look the other way and just forgive that, right?
Like we look at Jurassic Park, and we all love the designs and everything from that movie, and of course we know now that they probably like they would have had feathers. They should have had feathers, and we know that now, and we didn't have that information at the time when Jurassic Park was being made. So
Right, and of course we always assume that they're like a grayish color or whatever, but we don't know what patterns they had on them, if any, right? And all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that, and it's kind of one of those things that when you I mean, we've been taught since kids that they're kind of like lizards and they kind of look like this, and it's like I'm sure if we actually saw how they looked in real life and how they acted, we'd just be like, "No, it's destroying our ideas." It's just like that's not how they act. It's not how they
well, yeah, from
look.
what I understand, though, the newest research indicates that they do look so much more like birds. Even T-Rex has some of the more recent T-Rex renderings I've seen have the T-Rex looking well more like this creature that I'm painting on my screen, which you can't see. Sorry about that. Start screen share. There we go. Okay, so this is starting to look a little bit more like a dragon, I guess. Yeah, I do need to clean up that skin to make it less feathery.
There we go. I love it when you get like big, large scale samples of stuff. You're like, oh, there you go. Now you're talking.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know how to, up until like a year ago, I didn't even know how to, properly search for reference, and I didn't know how to use reference because we were told at school, like, uh, use all of your own reference photos if you can, and of course you can get in super big trouble if you use someone else's photos. So, like, since I've been in Korea, I've been taking so many of my own photos, and I've built up a library of like more than 50,000 photos that I took myself, so I don't have to worry about it. But I don't have a lot of animal reference, and of course now that I'm just if I do design work, or if I'm doing anything that I don't sell, turns out I didn't have to do any of that anyway.
Right, right. Yeah, it's so funny because like I think that once again like we didn't like the internet was just starting to become more popular when we were in school, and more, I guess not necessarily popular but more pedestrian, right? More common.
Accessible, I believe, is the word I'm
Uh,
looking
Smartphones weren't really even around yet and
for.
weren't
Phones
doing what they were supposed to
were
be
just
doing.
getting like
What's that?
cell phones were just getting easy to use, actually.
Right, or inaffordable. So it's like, I mean, before, 3 years or 5 years before we were going to school, if you saw somebody with like a cell phone, you're like, well, la di da, Mr. Important. And now we all have them. Like, our kids have got them now and stuff. And it's just like,
Sure.
it's the wheels are off the wagon. It's just flying. Um, so either way, that's so. Yeah, and I remember actually the first person that ever showed me that you could use reference for this kind of stuff, I think it was actually Andrew Jones and Jason Manley when they came to do a demo. And they're like, yeah, here's like one way you just have this up in one screen here and kind of look at that, and then you can just go off and just do this other stuff. Just kind of look at this for like color schemes and for anatomy and da da da, and have this on the screen next to you while you do this. And that just blew our mind. We're like, what? You can do that? Really? Don't copy it, but just use it for reference and just kind of get an idea, and it'll inspire you to kind of come up with stuff. And I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. I never thought of that before, and now
Yeah,
that I am.
I had my kind of epiphanies like that 3 years ago when I got back into this. Has it been 3 years? No, like 2.5 years ago. Wow, it's only been 2.5 years that I've been doing this. I learned a lot pretty quickly, which is really, really good because once I
You,
got over the hump, like I started, cranking out a lot of work, and every time I made some new thing, it was better than the last thing I made. So it's just
yeah,
a great feedback loop of sort of confidence building.
yeah. That's the best affirmation when the next thing that you make is better than the last thing that you did and stuff. And the only thing I can say beyond that that's even better is as far as reference as far as advice goes is just start surrounding yourself with people that are much better than you. Because like,
That's what I've been missing here.
right,
It's
right.
so hard to meet people here who are in our field and who are uh, fluent English speakers or willing to put up with my not so fluent Korean.
It's and that's I mean it's not until recently that I even really even get that opportunity, and that's kind of what made me that was actually a big motivator for me to move, was that I was part of a gaming company, a small gaming company over in South Florida, and like I finally had helped them get to a magnitude where they could start hiring an art staff, and so I was in charge of that. And I said, great, well let me put something in Career Builder, and they said, Career Builder is going to cost $300 to put something in that.
Call
And
your
I'm like,
friends.
what's that?
Just call your friends and hire all your friends.
Well, the problem was like, even with that, was like I didn't know if that was a good thing to do because like the company was just like they weren't very supportive of artists, and so it was like I didn't want to drag anybody else in that. I wasn't too sure to be that they were going to be at a place that I wasn't so sure I want to be at myself really. And so that's part of the reason why I didn't start knocking on friends' doors and go, hey, get your ass over here. And so I was like, well, let me just bring in, because I mean I have to boss people around a little bit here at some points, maybe, to make sure that things get done right and stuff. And I didn't want to necessarily do that to my friend. What's that?
And that doesn't fit your personality at all, does it?
Jackass. I mean, I have no problem if you're doing something wrong and cracking a head, but that's the problem is like where do you make that divide between a friend and a boss kind of thing, And so it's and plus like I said, the biggest thing was like I just didn't know if I want to be there myself, and I started looking pretty soon after I started expanding, and they ended up like not even letting me do a Craigslist ad. I had to like go to like the career services places for like the local art places around there, and none of them were very good. And so it's like I was able to find like either people that couldn't even come close to figuring it. Like like we were pretty forgiving, where it's like you don't have to know everything, just know some things, and we'll give you like a little design test and just figure this stuff out. Just we'll give you all the cookie crumbs you need to follow the breadcrumbs you need to follow the clues to figure out what you need to do. And here's a quick little design test. And honestly, we were just more concerned that you could save files the right way and put assets in the right folders to make things work. And people couldn't even figure that stuff out. And I was just like, what? No. So, fortunately, we were able to find two people that were competent enough and were talented enough to put on there. But it was like I had to go sit there and beat the streets. And I even threw out a thing to my old alma mater at Ringling, because that's where I found the job, actually, and stuff. And so I said, well, hey, all's fair. Let's get some people over here. And like nobody from Ringling applied for the job or even inquired about the job and stuff like that. So I was really surprised by that. And so we ended up getting two people, but then soon after that, like I realized like I wasn't doing myself any favors, because neither one of them were any better than me. And that's not me being arrogant. That's me bragging about being the tallest midget. It's like I wasn't that great either. I wanted to get better, and I kind of realized like the only way I was ever going to get better was to surround myself with people that were better, and to have that feeling of, oh my god, I'm a fucking hack. How did I even get this far? And just that's the motivation you need to just go into work and just start just going balls to the walls with stuff. So when I finally got out here to IGT, like even just the way I saw people and the way that they were treating files in Photoshop, and seeing the way that they're using the effects in each of the layers, and how they're compiling layers together, and how they were, using the appearance palette in Illustrator and all this stuff. And I just went, I didn't even know you could. I've been working with these programs for over a decade, maybe almost two by this point, and I had no clue I could do this kind of stuff. And nor did if I didn't know they could do this, I didn't understand the applicability of it and stuff, and how that would work. And seeing these people doing this stuff, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And to add the extra spice to the soup, the most amazing thing was like all the guys I worked with over there were completely confident in their abilities, but not in an arrogant way, and completely cool about sharing their information. And sometimes you'll work at places where like they'll start coveting information, and they won't share it with you, and it gets because these people want their job security there. That's the way they do it, is by withholding information. And fortunately, these guys were all completely comfortable and confident in their abilities and their position in life, and were willing to share that information and stuff. And I learned so much in the 2 years I was there about how to deal with Illustrator files, how to deal with Photoshop files, how to do proper texture mapping in a 3D program and stuff. And it was just it was a great thing to kind of learn and to do in that kind of thing. So it's I highly recommend that if you get a chance to. Okay, here's the two things I highly recommend. First, that you get in a place that you are perpetually scared about being the worst artist there. And then, secondly, if you become the best artist there, get the hell out. Move on to the next thing and become the worst artist again and work your way up again. Because like you don't ever want to be in the position where you just feel completely comfortable about everything, because that's when you're in trouble. That's when you're just going to get complacent, and that's just a bad place to be in the art career. I mean, like artists are held to a standard that most other jobs aren't. Like if I've seen some other careers where people can slack off so much more than artists can, and they still get to keep their job. But artists are slacking off too much. Like this, people don't take our jobs seriously or give them the respect that they deserve sometimes. And so that means you got to be on point all the time. You can't really screw up, and you can't take it for granted, and you can't slack off too much and stuff. So you got to. Yeah, that's the thing you got to think about here. And especially, unfortunately, most art jobs I've had, they're all temporary too. It's not necessarily, it's not by choice, it's just by circumstance. Every game company that's out there, they spend, on average, if it's a really AAA type of title game that you're talking about there, between building the engine to having the final game, it could be a 5-year development cycle. Right. And they get down to that 5-year development cycle and that game doesn't sell, they're done. Their money is gone out and it's not coming back in, and that's it. That's the end of the company and stuff. So it's just It's not a very, I mean, you know, people, as much as people shit on like, oh, there's another Call of Duty or there's another Mortal Kombat, same old shit, wash, rinse, repeat. Well, yeah, but they're selling, and it's a good foundation for a gaming company to then have extra money to go off there and try something different. And if
Yeah,
it
well,
fails,
I
fine, they
heard
still have this thing.
Nintendo has a formula related to that. They'll like for every I forget the number, but basically like for every Mario Kart type of guaranteed winner that they sell, or for every like two of those that they make, they'll make some weird experimental thing that may or may not work out at all.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
and that's
probably
kind
the
of
point of experiment, right?
right, and I think that's good. I think that's an important thing to do because I mean, you still want to have those innovative projects, right? You still want to sit there and try to make a better mousetrap and stuff. But at the same time, you still got at the end of the day, you got paychecks you got to fill out for people. You got a lot of overhead you got to account for, and if you can't account for that with a new game, you're dead in the water, man. So, and especially those last few years, there's just been just studio after studio after studio that's just gone under, and so the Northeast just doesn't seem to have any gaming studios anymore. So it's just such a bloody shame. I've got a few friends over there that have lived up there and love it up there too. I mean, got family, have grown families, and a lot of them have gone out have had to move elsewhere. I mean, even in California, there's cats that I know that just recently got Sony Picture Imageworks said, hey, we'd like to keep you unemployed. We'd like to keep you employed, but you're going to have to go up to Canada to do that, and because that's where all the tax breaks are and stuff. And even recently, when I went to Chuck E. Cheese, I saw some cool games over there that I hadn't seen anyplace else, and I decided to research the companies when I got home, and it's like all of them are either in Quebec or they're in China. Like none of them are here in the U.S. The only thing that's in the U.S. is the sales offices or the distribution offices. That's it, just to get the product out there. There's somebody else doing it someplace else, basically. So there you go. You got your bird streamlined again.
Yeah, working on it.
I've got a dragon. I'm trying to figure out the anatomy too here. I think this leg in the back is a little too thick. I started making the claws in the front a little too elongated, but it's not really about that. I mean, all these animals that I'm looking at here that are walking lizards or big massive creatures, they all have, short stubby type of feet. There's not much there. I mean, the monitor even is like they're leaner, but mostly it's like a stump down here with appendages coming off of it. So I'm gonna have to think about doing something in a similar kind of vein. I mean, with the Komodo dragon over here, let's see if I can pull my reference. I mean, they're not. It's not really something they use for grabbing on with. That's the most they do, and I think that's more just them stabilizing themselves with their arms more than anything. But I mean, look at those arms; they're so bloody meaty up here
Yeah.
as it goes off to the pectoralis, or what would be on humans would be like pectoralis muscles.
Pectoralis major.
Okay, there you go, that one. So I got some decent like chest thing going on here with him, but as far as this goes, I think this has got to be more beefy. I'm gonna make like the bulldog of dragons, basically. All right, what time is it? 10:30. All right, we'll go for like another 10 minutes tonight, and then revisit next week. Get rid of that. It's more lion than it is anything else. What you chuckling at?
Oh,
Oh
he's so
no.
cute. Isn't he just the cutest little dragon you've ever seen? Oh.
How come I can't see your dragon in my? Well, hang on. I can see it on my.
You should be able to.
It's weird. Like I can see it on my main screen, but like on the little sample screen down there, it's just showing a black thing with your name on it.
Yeah, it's the same with you.
Oh, okay. So let's just do that when we switch over then. Okay. All right. So the thing that sucks is I can't. I'm gonna screen share again on a different screen. So here's what my other screen looks like right now. I've got a buttload of reference material just up here to look at as I go along, and I'm focusing on everything from scales,
Mm-hmm.
textures, patterns, but mostly anatomy is what I'm trying to look at here.
I like that. That's pretty cool. All right, now I just have to figure out the wings. How am I going to do that? I think I know. Jason, I got to say, this is so cool because not even, I don't know, a year ago, maybe 2 years, um, I would have been so caught up in just trying to figure out the basic uh, workings of the program that I wouldn't be able to focus
So
on the design, and that's how
the
I know.
the creative freedom wouldn't be there because you'd just be so focused on just getting the technical to work, right?
Right. So that's how I know I'm actually getting to a good place because I
No
can
doubt.
pay attention to what I'm doing and not having to stop to figure out how to do what I want to do.
That seems to be a huge problem. I mean, it's like especially when God, there's some demos I've seen of people that do like ZBrush and stuff, and it is just bloody insane to see how quickly people work in sculpting programs to make in 4 hours, what used to take 2 days worth of work basically of you pulling geometry points and blah blah blah, and now you can sculpt so organically and it looks friggin' amazing. And it's amazing to think where we've come with this technology for sure.
Without. Okay, that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do. Come here, little guy. Let's give you some cute little forearms with some wings. There we go.
Man, that's connecting better.
Oh, you got some little chicken arms. Look at that.
so, still the chicken's still around there someplace. The bird's still in there.
Who's a cutie? Who's a cutie?
So you going for the real cutie kind of thing with this here?
Well,
Or is it just kind of evolving that way?
it's evolving that way. It's a part of my personality that comes out sometimes.
I was gonna say that's kind of surprising because I've seen you do much more fantasy, gritty, realistic sci-fi versus the cartoony stuff. But you
Yeah,
definitely do some of each for sure.
they're both fun. I mean, I love them both. They're both a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing I get in trouble with my website and with my portfolio is they're like, well, what are you? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I? They're like, well, you do this and you do cartoony, you do fantasy. I'm like, yeah, just pick one and I'll do it. There's not really, it's not that complicated. I mean, it's.
I'm considering coming up with like just another name so that I can have like artwork for cute illustration and cute character design, and then have another name for more serious-looking military and sci-fi IPs.
I think that's yeah. Isn't that kind of what Puddinhead did? I think
Who?
Puddinhead.
What the hell is a Puddinhead?
He's that one really good artist that was part of that whole original fantasy posse with Jim Zhang and Andrew Jones and all that group. But Puddinhead was his fantasy name. But he also did these like amazing gallery show figure drawing stuff. And but of course those worlds never intertwine. And God forbid if they do, right? Like he could never, nobody would ever take him seriously in the fine art world, knowing that he did that kind of high fantasy stuff. What's that?
Nice dragon you got there. Puh.
Is it coming along okay?
No. I mean, that's what they would say in the fantasy.
Oh! I see what you're saying. Yeah. It's totally. Yeah, they would never think in a million years that could be the same person, or would they even seriously consider you if you were the same person? So he came up with an alter ego that was Puddinhead for his fantasy stuff, and then he just went with his real name for the fine art gallery stuff. And frankly, I think it's from a business perspective, it's probably a smart way to go too. Because I mean, it's like even like people that we know from back in the day, like Sean Barber's a great example of that, where he does the gallery stuff, but he also does the tattoo stuff.
Yes.
And the great thing about the tattoo thing is like that's quick and pretty steady stream of revenue that he can get. But the fine art stuff can also do well. And fortunately, he's in the kind of genre of fine art that those two worlds kind of overlap pretty seamlessly. And so, but the great thing is that now he's got this freedom where he can just go wherever the hell he wants and do tattoos, and he's got his reputation precedes him, so he can kind of call his own shots with that kind of stuff, which is great. So that's kind of that's where you want to aspire to be as an artist, right? Where you can
Oh
kind
yeah.
of go, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. Okay, here you go. Here's your wheelbarrow of money. Thank you.
Yeah. Where do I apply for one of those wheelbarrows of money?
Yeah. I saw David Cross. You know him.
No.
He's a stand-up comedian. He did the Mr. Show back in the day. He was in Arrested Development. He was Tobias in that.
Okay.
Bald fellow with a mustache and glasses in that. He was part of the whole alternative the alternative comedy movement of the '90s, and like recently he did like the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie, which is like so the opposite of what he's ever done in his life before. And people are like, "Whoa, dude, what the hell, man? Like, how could you do that when you got all this street cred?" And he's like, "Yeah, I tried to go to the bank with that street cred. They won't cash it for real money. It's weird." it doesn't convert. It's weird. So just at some points you go, okay, well I got to do something for money, and it's even like now as we both do silly dragons. I've never gotten paid to do a dragon in my life. I could have, I guess, at some points in my life had that project come along. It's not like it just never did, and I think the closest I ever came to was just doing the Pearl Dragon, which is like an Oriental thing, but I didn't do any of the modeling for the dragon for that. I just got to integrate the animation that was done into an After Effects thing, promotion thing.
Um, speaking of uh, speaking of what's the word I'm looking for? God, I told you, man, my English is terrible. You remember, I gave you that file for the other sci-fi.
Oh yeah, for the military thing, right?
Never do anything with that.
I looked at it for a second. The biggest thing I wanted to look at with it was like because I was like, wow, that's really realistic. And then I opened it up. I was like, oh, it is realistic.
Oh, oh, it's just
it's
oh,
it's completely well, not completely, but it's like I'd say probably 80% there and stuff like that. So that was the biggest thing. I was just curious to see like, well, if you illustrated all that, how did you illustrate all that? How did that look when you zoomed in on it and stuff like that? So like so that was interesting to take a look at that there. Hang on, let me save this and I'll and then I'll open it up. I'll see if I can find it again and open it up here. Hang on. There we go. 1 second. This dragon, I'm kind of changing my protocol a little bit with this, because usually I've kind of gotten in the habit lately. Let me see if I can pull something up over here, just as an example that I can show. I have to be very careful about what I do and don't show from certain clients, because I have a lot of NDAs that are still effective right now. 1 second here. See, I can show this one off here. So yeah, so like here's one thing I did. Where it was like I was just trying to figure out like a shield for a character, and so like it really kind of came down to just kind of evolving shapes and just playing and just really just kind of making shapes and strokes and kind of getting to a point where I went, oh, okay, this is feeling more like I want it to feel like, and yeah, that'll work. And so from there you get a wide range of different shapes and styles for stuff. All right, let's see here. The attributes. Item type. Where's that at? Here it is. Okay. Where's the PSTs? PNGs. Lots of those are out there. Well, if it's going by item type, I'll go through PH first before PNG. Or not? What the fuck? Okay, here we go. Found it. Okay, so this one, right?
Yeah.
So,
Actually, before you say anything, I feel like I should explain.
Yeah, please do, please do.
Um, I I reached a certain point.
What the hell were you doing? No, okay.
Be done in a minute. I reached a point where I would see a video on YouTube of I don't know, on FCD channel, or even on Imagine Effects. I'd see some people do some things just with photos, and I realized that I didn't have any ability to do any kind of photo collage and mess around with the levels and color, and I had an inability to put together an image just of photos and then work on top of that.
So overall, just the general concept of just taking disparate elements and combining them together and making them look like they fit.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So take it from there.
Oh, okay, cool. So based off what you did, what you said off that there. So let's see what's what. So that's the decorative thing right there on the bottom.
Yeah.
What's this thing up there? Oh, okay. So
I have some other things I didn't end up going with.
Okay. What made you choose to stay with this, and what made you choose not to?
It was too busy.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, here's a question I have for you here. Why did you go with such a small font on this thing?
Well, there's a lot of negative space up there at the top, and I could have, printed it very large, and it would have been fine.
Uh-huh.
If you look at the rhythm with the helicopters there, it sort of leads up quite nicely to that small text there in the sky, I think.
Okay. And so at this point we have that level. So what's this level here? It looks like there's a lot on this level here. Let's just turn off all the other layers and see what it specifically. So this is like so this is like a final compilation layer basically.
Yeah. So you just push
Gotcha.
Control Shift Alt E, and it'll make a nice copy layer of all the layers below it without getting rid of those layers.
Oh, interesting.
So if
I never knew that.
If you get to a certain point in your image and you just want to put it all on one layer, just push Control Shift Alt E.
Interesting. And then I'll just do that all.
Yeah, and it'll just squish everything together into one layer, and you can work on it from there. So turn off that layer, whatever layer that was.
Right, and then we can see more of the. Here we go.
Yeah,
Oh, I think I turned on too many layers, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. That's okay. On the bottom, there'll be a whole bunch of stuff like layer 3 shouldn't be on, layer 5, layer.
I'm just gonna close it and open it back up again, and then we'll go right back to where we're at. One second, I'm gonna close all this stuff down also. Okay.
Or maybe I'll open it up on my screen as well.
Oh, there you go.
Let's see if I can find it. Where's that thing? Oh my gosh, I really don't even know where that is.
Well, I know you had a hard time finding it in the first place. Like it was on a different computer than you thought it was, right?
It should be photo collage, but it's not. It's going to be in landscape sketches for some reason.
So it looks like you got about 30-ish layers here for this whole massive beast of a thing.
Oh, 30 layers is nothing. That's not bad at all.
Yeah, I suppose it is whatever you're working on, right? It depends. I try to keep it low, but sometimes it's hard depending what you're doing.
Oh, sure.
Like what the hell is it? Like one thing I don't know if you ever used smart objects at all.
No, no. What? I
Let
don't
me
even know. Like I've seen them
let
come
me
up,
sh-
convert to smart object, but
let me show you a little bit of what that's all about here with some of the stuff that we've worked on, other stuff I've worked on before. If I can find the stuff I've worked on before. Hang on here. No, not there. Looking for some stuff that we did recently here. There we go. Base game, top class. Yeah, let's just crack this puppy open and see what's what. Don't even know what it is, but we'll find out. Okay, yeah, so here's like some stuff that we did recently for a video game. But, okay, so you see something like this over here. This one symbol that we have. You see the smart object symbol next to it. The great thing about the smart object thing is basically that compiles everything into a single layer, but that's completely editable. So all you got to do then is just double click on the smart object. This
can we
prompt
get
will
layers that come out again? Like
at this point this prompt will come up saying editing contents, blah blah blah. Just sure, okay, whatever. And then this thing will come up. And so here you go. So here's the myriad of levels that are, even though we have two things over here, here's the myriad of levels that are involved in the different groups and everything else that's on this thing, just to make this look as awesome as it does.
Wow.
And I can't take credit for this. This is a friend of mine that did this one. But but I mean, you can just see like just the amount of stuff that we have over here. Just this one thing over here that you look at, it's on screen, is at opacity. The fill is even at 68%, so you get more of this effect on the outside, and versus what's on the inside, which is that. So you get a little essence of that, but it's not all there. I mean, there's like a million different little things you can do. But the thing is, you don't want these gazillion layers all within your compilation thing that you're doing.
Sure.
So as you can even see here, it says is .psb. So that's the file it saves out if it's a smart object. And the cool thing is, so that it comes over here like this. So let's say that, okay, you've compiled all this stuff together. Your art director goes, great, but I want this changed over here to a different color. Okay, cool. So you go to that thing, you open it up. I don't know if it. We'll see if it saves it back out the same way it actually is. We'll go ahead and just do something like really obnoxious, like whatever this is. Find something. I'm trying to find something that's like really obnoxious with this thing here. There we go. That's really obnoxious. So I'll just go ahead and just change that to like. I'll change it to like a color overlay that's red, so we can blatantly see a difference of that going on. Then before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and just save this out as something. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, before I destroy a file that's awesome by accident, I always have a tendency to just be paranoid about this kind of stuff. Just save it out. Okay, so there we go. So we just save this out as a test thing, so we won't screw this up. Do that. Click on that. Open up your smart object. Boom, there it is. We're going to go off and be obnoxious. Do a color overlay on this. Boom, that's done. Sure, go ahead and save that. As we close it. Automatically uploads, changes everything here. See?
Nice.
So that's all you need to do is just change that one thing, and whatever you change in that one thing, it goes back to here, and it's only this one little layer. That's it.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, thank you for explaining.
So that's the great thing about it. And at the same time, like let's say that let's say that you have something that's got a million layers to it, right? Like this, like your piece, for example. Like
Well, I can
if
line up on my screen, so we can look at it now if you want.
killer. Well,
So
before you let me just
it's a smart
finish up with
layer.
this.
The helicopter is one layer, one smart layer, which is
Oh,
what
is
it
it?
is. No, if it were, but
Oh, okay. Well, what I was trying to, yeah. Let's say that we wanted to isolate these guys. So we have that part and this part. Is that the most of those guys? That's most of that. Is that part? Yeah. So now you go up to the little tab up here, and you come down to convert to smart object. Now the other great thing about smart objects is there's a lot of effects that you've put on those layers too, and so whatever. Let's say that you put like one thing that would be a great example. I'm going to go ahead and just screw with your illustration here. So let's say that we for some stupid reason we decided to put like a giant stroke over everything here. There you go. Just to make it blatantly obvious.
sure. For illustrative purposes.
For illustrative purposes. So then we go ahead and take these two layers and we say convert to smart object. So it automatically puts these layers together. Now, the cool thing is now you can just go ahead and blow this up to whatever size you want. It will automatically scale this to the proper thing. Now, if this wasn't a smart object,
It would stay the same pixel size.
exactly that. So you scale everything else up, that stays the same. So that's a really good benefit to doing that, is it knows that this is the file, and it whatever wonderful brilliant algorithm they've come up with to make that happen the right way, it happens the right way like that. And those kind of things you start suddenly realizing, like, well, that makes life so much easier, because instead of having a gazillion layers to things, you can have 3 or 5 layers to things, and typically you do it to the things that you think are going to be changed. So based off of your experience with working with similar projects like that and stuff. So there's a lot of brilliant things that Photoshop and Adobe has done that you didn't even realize they did, and when you do find out, you're like, just, oh my god. I didn't even know why you needed that. Now that I know that you have that, that's just spectacular.
Right.
So go ahead and go through your compilation now and kind of explain what you did, why you did it, and where you go from here and stuff.
Okay. Well, you can see the photo plate here on the bottom, which is just from a photo that I took on the beach, and I also
Okay.
used that same photo plate here on this image.
Oh, okay.
Just recycling it because it's a nice photo plate to use. You can see here it's flat. The horizon line's quite clear.
Yeah, monochromatic. It's got some good texture to it and stuff. Yep.
So I just painted on top of that a bit, and I tried fooling around with some different backgrounds. Like I put these guys down here at some point. I had some different backgrounds here instead of that beach one. Like I thought maybe it'd be cool to have them in a city. So
Yeah.
actually,
Uh-huh.
I tried the city thing like over and over again, so many different permutations, and it just didn't work out. So eventually, I
Huh.
just abandoned the city, and I went back and took out the beach one, and I thought, all right, well, we'll do some sort of flat open desert then instead of the buildings, and I'll do a nice building scene some other time. And what I had done actually is these guys. I had these guys here.
Hmm.
I cut out all of the unnecessary stuff from the original reference photo, and I spent most of the time when I first started this image just on the design, thinking about what would be a cool and realistic looking design uh, on these guys. Something that looked like it would be plausible. So, and I had never done this kind. I hadn't done this kind of thing before either. So there was a bit of a learning curve for me to try and
Hmm.
get it to look kind of acceptable and not too glaring to the eye. And I just started building on top of it. Got a nice little overlay layer here from my photo bank.
Hmm. Yeah, and overlay is like one of those great effects that you can have for layers that really does a great job of just layering and stuff, just almost immaculately.
And I just started putting in some atmosphere after that to really help push uh, uh, the one the one gun the hold on, it'll come to me. The sense of perspective.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I just got done teaching one of my classes, and I use all of these terms all the time in Korean when I'm teaching my classes. So
You just want to spew them all out. Your muscle memory is just in there.
so when it came time to put in some background stuff, I guess this isn't the most. Oh, is it? This is the same file I sent you. You can see that I collapsed some layers, quite a few layers together actually, when I got up here to to layer 32. So
Oh,
here's a little bit.
okay.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know the file. The original reference that I had for this, what is it, the Cobra helicopter here, like you couldn't see the landing struts, and this little thing underneath it doesn't exist. So I had to paint that stuff in.
Oh,
And of
cool.
course, the rotors I had to paint in. So it was really nice to be able to, learn how to just to suit my needs, to add on or take away from anything as I saw fit, and you don't even notice it. Like that's how you know it's a nice background element, or
Right.
or even uh, first level focal point. Like if you don't know that it was edited in any way, then it's quite effective. So I'm kind of proud of that. The rotor rotation is a little cheesy. I'm not happy with that. Like I wish I could find a better way to make it look less uh, just circular. You know what I mean? I need to make it a little more transparent to give it more of a sense of motion. It just looks a little too flat to me.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say that most of that. I think it's probably the thing that's irritating me the most about it is probably that one helicopter there. I think overall it's looking a little flat. The one in the background, obviously, it's so far away that you can kind of forgive it a little bit more. But the one there on the right, I think that's a little too close. That some of the stuff's starting to look a little too flat for where it's at and stuff like that. I'm not too sure what the solution for that is though, so I'm not doing anything more than just shitting on your
Well, I
parade.
think you could hit a highlight on that front window. Here, let me actually draw. Let me
I'm
draw it.
actually I'm going through now and taking
Now
off
I'm
some.
hoping that if if I were to highlight this window a little bit, working, working.
Where am I going here? There I am.
There we go. I would just increase that a little bit. I guess that would help to increase that would reduce the flatness. Yeah, that looks much better. Look at that.
There you go. Yeah, a little more highlight to it. That's all you needed. Yeah. There you go.
And but still, like I would like to get rid of this. I guess I would like to loosen up this rotor a little bit because it just looks too.
I don't know if you are you familiar with clipping paths and stuff.
Um, not. No, no, I'm not.
Okay, so if you let's see, where's your rotor blade there? There it is, right there. Um, if you go down, so if you're on that layer, go down here to this little mask thing right there. See that?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So you click on that, and that makes a masking layer.
yeah,
So then, what that means is that black is
right,
transparent, white is opaque,
right,
and so from that point, you can go ahead and let's say you wanted to break it up and stuff like that. You can go ahead and just kind of play with that a little bit.
right.
And the great thing is it's not permanent. It's
Not
just
destructive.
it's its own function. So you can go ahead and kind of monkey with it till you get something that you think looks good and stuff like that in any capacity. And so I'm just trying to show you real quickly how to use it and
Right,
stuff like that. Um, but it's brilliant because you never lose your actual finished work. You sit there and you do that, and then you go, I don't know, I took too much away. Okay, well turn it to white over here.
right.
Go right back in there and kind of start adding back in.
Oh, something which, as I've been learning Photoshop, there's so many of these little things. Like, I didn't even know that there was a multiple undo for the first 2 or 3 months I was using Photoshop.
There was a multiple for what?
multiple undo, control alt.
Oh, well, yeah, but the wonky thing though is you still have to go to preferences and make sure that you say uh, a few different. Where is it at here? Yeah, how many whatever times you can do it. Where the hell is that actually?
I think you just passed it. It was down there. It was the
Did I?
first one you clicked on. Oh no, it wasn't. Sorry. But at any rate, yeah. So I
Performance.
didn't even know
Oh, here
that.
it is. Yeah, performance. So I have 90 history states on mine. Four
So in
cache
order to
levels.
switch the like the foreground and background colors there, you just push the X button. I had no idea that you could just switch it like that. Like when you go back and forth between black and white, if you
Oh,
just push
really?
the X button, yeah, push your X button.
I never knew that. Look at that. I probably did it by accident a million times and just never
Yeah.
realized that.
Well, that's the thing, because it automatically keeps one of those selected, and you keep like filling using your background color, but it should be the foreground, and you can't figure out why. That's why.
One of my buddies works for Disney Design, and he had like an alert situation come up the other day, and I don't even know what the cheat. Oh, here we go. Here's the cheats for it. Control 2, 3, 4, 5. He accidentally hit whatever cheat key, hotkey it was combination for isolating one of the channels,
Right.
and so he ended up like doing it for like whatever it was. But either way, like when you only have one channel selected, it all becomes black and white.
Right.
And not only that, but if you hit Control Z, it won't undo because in Photoshop's
Do
perspective,
anything.
you didn't do anything that altered the the actual illustration. All you did was alter your perception of what the illustration
Right.
is.
Right.
And so he was freaking out. He thought he lost like all the color detail for his illustration, and he was like, "Help! What do I do?" I'm like, "Just go to your channels and just turn them back on." He goes, "Well, why did it even do that?" I was like, "You hit a hotkey." He's like, "Well, why didn't undo work?" I'm like, "Because it's not you're not changing the illustration. You're just changing your perception of the illustration." And that's this channels thing is usually done for not necessarily for RGB like this one, but it's usually done for CMYK, and it's for people that do color correcting and stuff for printouts. They
Yeah,
want to make sure
that
that.
was, the color correcting was a big weakness in my skill set, so that's one reason why I chose to do this sandbox image and also the Winter Soldier image that maybe you saw. Uh,
I
not
didn't
not
see
the
that
Captain
one.
America one. Yeah, this one.
Oh,
Super.
oh, 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 right. See, like, so getting back to your thing over here, like, just a few things I was thinking about. Let me close and open up again because I don't remember what was on and what was off. Um, so the first thing I was thinking, like, because when I first looked at this, especially with this up here, and this is just my first impressions of whatever, and I don't know that there's necessarily an answer to this or if there's a right or a wrong. But the first things I thought was like, well, let's go ahead and make this like a book cover.
Yeah, sure.
Um, let's go ahead and like put some texture in it here. Why does it let me contract my layer? There it is. Select, modify. It's not letting me. Oh, that's weird.
You might go to your image mode if you're having trouble editing it.
I shouldn't have anything for anything with it. Okay. Either way, there we go. Got it. Figured it out. Down and dirty, but who cares? So yeah, so like one thing I was thinking was like just throwing some kind of texture in here,
Yeah.
overlaying it, knocking that down a little bit, a lot maybe, and then like I showed you with the clipping path before, just kind of take that, get one of your more textured type of brushes. Let's see what this is set to. Scatter it a little bit. Get rid of dual brush. Get rid of color dynamics. Let's transfer. Is it even on anything? There we go. Shape dynamics a little bit. Not too much. Scattering is way too high. Okay, there we go. And then just kind of going through and just trying to find that sweet spot.
Well,
Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, cool. I guess my side can't conked out for a second.
Oh, keep going.
Okay, hang on. Let me get back to where I was at. Where's my thing here? Where's my screen share thing? Come on, screen share. Oh, it's hiding underneath the thing where I couldn't see it. All right. So is it showing up now?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, and so just basically going through here, and as you can see right here, how the masking layer is kind of getting ready.
Um,
Okay, well that's an interesting challenge. I
keep
think
dropping them
each
off.
I think each time I'm using the brush that's too big and I'm milking up the memory too much when I'm doing this, it's kicking me offline.
Oh.
I think. So either way, but yeah, that's my idea. Is like you got some texture in there, but it's subtle, and even from you can and even right there you got a little link, so you can go ahead and just either hang on,
I can't see you
disable
yet
it.
on screen. I can only see you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you saw my screen here.
You look very handsome, though.
Can't Photoshop that any better, unfortunately. So either way, like yeah, so you see there's this subtle texture there, just kind of be like a tying element to this whole thing.
Yeah, sure.
Um, in addition to that, like the other thing I was thinking about doing was just going into the here, maybe throwing a color overlay on it.
Yeah, could do.
Just because I think that's the biggest thing I'm seeing is it's just a little too monochromatic,
Yeah,
and you might want to throw just a little bit of color in there,
right.
just to help it out a little, just to kind of give it a little more emphasis of whatever.
Yeah, that does look a little bit better.
Um, so those are the two things, and unfortunately, I do wonder if part of my casino gaming background is actually forcing me to do that, because the things you always hear with casinos like make it brighter, make it brighter, make it
Right.
brighter. So we had like a spec project we were working on, like the Dark Knight game at one point,
Yeah.
and that's all black. It's all black.
Hard thing to do after
And
that.
so they're like, okay, we'll make it have color. And I'm like, how? They said, well, take whatever you got and saturate it, and then see what pops out, and then use those colors. So Batman got a few blue hues to it, and Bane we just put some red hues to it and stuff, and it started actually looking a lot better. I have to say, it kind of fleshed it out a little bit better and stuff. So something like this might be good. So I was thinking, like, at the same time, like, this isn't. It's probably isn't. I know what you're going for as far as like the tech of the text up here, but like I was thinking, like,
It doesn't look that good when it's that big.
yeah, exactly. So we got to find something like, okay, let's go for like complete
Still,
complete cliche with stencil. How's that? Because that always has. Do I not have stencil here? Are you kidding me? I don't have stencil. You're shitting me. What the fuck? I thought that was like a standard. I haven't uploaded all my friggin' fonts to this thing yet, so it's
it's
like,
not.
yeah, you're like, no shit. I thought that was like one of the standard ones that you have. It's like, okay, let me just see if I can find something blocky and like gritty that might work better real quick here, just from scanning through this really fast. Uh, that is actually one thing that was amazing about one of the guys I worked with, Planet. His nickname is Matt Planet. If you go to themattplanet.com, it's one T. You'll see his stuff, but he literally gets a hard on friggin' fonts. He cannot get enough about fonts.
Literally gets a hard on for fonts, literally.
He literally. Um,
These fonts, like on magazines when he's at the bookstore and he just gets an erection.
he went to some kind of like graphic design convention of some sort and ran across a dude that made one of those like this one of those fonts that we all use nowadays, and he talked to the guy for 3 hours, waxing poetic about different fonts and about which one was great and which one was serifed so beautifully, and I mean just loves it, and I cannot tell you how valuable it was to have this guy, because I'd be like, we got a Greek themed Greek mythology themed game we got to do. I need something that's kind of got that kind of feeling to it, maybe a little more serifs, but kind of in a classical perspective. And he was on the other side of my cubicle, and I just would scream those directives to him, and he'd be like, "Try Trajan, it's good." I'm like,
Yeah, those guys that know
"All
their
right."
font worth their weight in gold for sure.
And so, but it was just fucking brilliant to have a guy like him there, and that, I mean, he really, that's part of the biggest reason why he was hired, was just because he was so good at fonts that that he was just an invaluable asset to the company. I'm going to go ahead and oh crap, I can't do that. That's the other part, shitty thing about having a Chinese knockoff, is that the the thing you get just doesn't. There you go. Okay, so you see this little icon I have going on here now?
Yeah.
Okay, have you ever seen that before?
Nope.
Okay, so basically what you do, are you using a PC or Mac?
PC, unfortunately.
So basically, if you are on that layer there and you wanted to only affect the layer below here, what you do is you hit Alt, and then you just kind of hover down until you get that little thing, and then you click it. And so basically, whatever I do with that layer now is only going to affect that layer below it here. So if that's a color burn, it'll only affect that. So even if it's a massive file that's taking up that whole screen, it's only going to affect the top layer. Unfortunately, I picked a font that's really dark, so you can't see what the hell is going on here. So let me try to change that out and see if that makes a difference. Or maybe it just doesn't work on fonts unless they're rasterized. That might be part of it too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Watch out for that tangent there on the S.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not even thinking tangents right now. I'm just trying to make this damn thing work right. Let me see if okay. Let's just go ahead and rasterize this shit then. What? Oh, that's because it's in that. Okay. Okay, let's see if that does a difference. Not the way I want it to, for sure. Well, I guess the good thing is it's not affecting anything on any of the other layers, but I don't see it affecting that one layer I wanted to affect either. What the what? Let's
Unlink that if you want to.
just click on it. Add on links like that, or if you right-click on the, you can see the little exterior boxes around that masking element. So if you actually go there and you right-click, it'll give you the option to disable, delete, apply, etc.
Okay.
Now, can I actually? The big question is, can I copy that and paste that to another layer, or drag it down? Okay, you can, but what you need to do is you have to select it, hit Alt, and then drag it down to the next layer, and it'll copy it down to the next layer. That's how that works. So why the hell? What do I got to do to make this show up on this? That should be a natural mask right there. But do I have the extra mask on it, and that's the reason why? Bloody heck. Well, so much for showing off when I can't even make it work right.
Well, you know what though, this is gonna bug you so much that you're gonna stay up for the next 2 hours after we get off here and try and figure it out.
Sure I will. Yeah. I'm tired. Let me just try to make it lighter, see if that makes a difference. Because now, okay, it's definitely showing there's a color difference there, right? Oh, is the opacity fucking that up? Is that why? No, I mean it's.
Before.
Yeah, so let's just do multiply. It's not bringing up that texture whatsoever. That's weird. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and just. Oh, I know why. I've got effects on it. That's why it's doing that. I've got the effects on it, so it's got the color overlay. So that's the thing when you start having too many things involved with it. It's going to go ahead and trump everything else that goes on with that. Okay, so go ahead. And also, you can do the same thing with you know how I showed you with the masking layer, how you can just go ahead and just delete, unlink it or disable it.
Yep.
Same thing with the effects. If you just turn down there, you can just turn that eye off, and there you go. Now it's doing what it's doing. And so that effect is still there, where you can just
Right.
reactivate it if you want to,
Right.
or you can just go ahead and just or you can just delete it altogether. I think, right?
Yeah, no, no, that looks good. Maybe if you can reduce the opacity on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a. Actually, I was going to go for like a color dodge or color burn and see how that looks. The hell's color burn? There it is. Yeah, and this is obviously just like whatever texture I had. Like I was really actually thinking more of like a dirt texture, like what you got down here.
Yeah.
Take that and something like that and put it in there and kind of get that kind of gritty texture to it, and that way stylistically you start kind of getting a little bit of that feel of um, of the military and what they're doing over there. Yeah, and let's see if I can get crazy fancy with this and just put a masking layer on that.
Why do you want to put a masking layer on there?
Just to only have a certain parts of this texture actually showing through to that
Oh, I see.
versus all of it. It doesn't look like that's working. Yeah, it's probably too contradictory because we already have this layer down here masking it out, so that probably trumps this whole thing. But then again, once I pull it off of that, it'll totally show up probably. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it's just real subtle because it's so low. There we go.
Well, let me. Why don't you take a break from that real quick and let me walk you through another image I've got really quickly, since we've got everything open. And this one's a lot cleaner than the sandbox image there, so it should be a lot easier for you to get an idea of the process of this.
There we go. It does work. Okay, good. Sure, sounds good. I'm just go ahead and shut this down here and let you have your way with it.
That's great. I'm going to try that masking technique.
Yeah, it's wonderful because there are times that you spend all that time like clipping something out, and then you're like, oh shit, I wish I still had that little piece there,
Yeah,
and so
because
it's just great.
I've just been destroying that information when I get rid of it.
Right, right. So that way you can kind of hang on to it, and if you need to come back to something, you can do that. It's great.
Okay. So here's the final image that I've got, warts and all. But this is the second one that I did after the sandbox image, and it
Uh
came out
huh.
all right. I'm pretty happy with it. Of course, there's always improvements to make, but I started off here with this background plate that I took, and I really like the interior of it. I just like the structure of this. It looks pretty cool.
Uh huh.
Um, so I thought I wanted to have some kind of nice background for it. Um, and I got the idea of a winter soldier, which actually I had him in a forest before. Winter, uh, is that is that this one? Oh, winter forest. There he is. Um, Originally, I had this in the forest, and I tried to work with it here, but it just the background was too complicated. It was too busy,
Uh huh.
so it was really taking away from the focal point of the foreground soldier. So I gave up on this one and decided to put him in this interior, and it was a lot more interesting. So I've got this. Actually, I just took a photo of myself with some props I've got here in the office. Yes, I have a gas mask and a helmet in my office. You can thank my father for that.
I was gonna just ask you that because I was like, that looks like it's kind of local.
No, no, this is not a Korean gas mask. This is Belgian, I
No,
think.
I mean, just shooting it yourself. I mean.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. My office here isn't set up to take really good photo references, and it doesn't need to be actually. This was just an exercise for me to, as I said, try and get used to this process. But anyway, I took a photo ref here. If you look closely at the like the strap here on the coat and these little bags here, these are things that I added in later. I just copied the gas mask and rotated it and pasted it here and moved
Oh,
around a
interesting.
little bit. So you have some nice repetition of shape and form, some good design, and it helps to fill out the waist area a little bit.
That's pretty impressive. I never would have guessed that that was compiled on there. So that's good job on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I put that together, and then I just got started on the background. Let's see, the background is right here. Just I lowered the contrast of actually the forest background that I had in the last image that I showed you. I just used that same background.
Oh, okay, yeah. And so
Moved it.
then you reduce down the lightness or the opacity, either one, right?
Yeah, I
And
just went into the color adjustment window, Control U, and I just increased the lightness of it.
yep, that works.
I pasted in a broken window from another photo ref that I had. Um, yeah, at the Korean War Memorial, there's a ship there that was that was shot up by the North Koreans, and it's on display. So that's actually from an actual ship with a real bullet that went through the window.
That's kind of cool that you got all those historical war artifacts that you're kind of integrating into this piece.
Yeah. I wanted to change the gun a bit, so it's not just a straight Desert Eagle plastic model. I just cleaned it up a little bit and added some simple details onto it. Put some gloves on because he's cold, right? He's in the winter. It's the winter time, so you need some kind of gloves. And it just didn't look right without any gloves. The day I was shooting, I didn't bring my motorcycle. I didn't ride my bike to school, and I always have like these really cool motorcycle gloves and boots and like my leather jacket. It looks like body armor, and I've got all this really cool stuff. Knee pads and everything that I wear. And the day I was, I didn't have any of it. So I was like, all right, well, it's gonna be winter time because I have a coat, and that's it. So I put the gloves on, and of course, snow coming in through the window. I wanted some good atmosphere, so I made I think 3 different layers of snow too. Put in some light, really put in some strong light there. I was just trying to figure out. Yeah, there's another layer of snow. And once you put in that light, it really opens up the thing. Oh, I've got some background snow as well. Or is that down here? Yeah, got some snow just with some motion blur on it. Of course, you know how to do that, right? You just make a bunch of dots and copy and paste them and copy and paste them, flatten them all, and then put a motion blur on it.
Then motion blur, yeah.
Uh-huh. Window, light, snow 1. Background light. There we go. I really should like label these layers. It's horrendous to try and explain it like this. It's quite high fidelity. Like when you look at it, it's really nice to see the difference of the sharp and the blurry and the
Right.
yeah. It really gives it a nice realistic look to it. So this is all just the this is before any color correcting, and that's it. So once I did the Control Alt Shift E, I just copied that layer and brought it over here for some more color, for some correcting. Let's see what I've got. Yeah, so this is the original version I made actually, and the colors are just too strong and it looks too warm, way too warm. Of course, I wanted some nice, warm, cool color contrast, but it's just too warm overall. So I pasted another cold layer on top of it and just erased. You can see here how I erased it uh, and let the cool parts overlay on the warm parts on the bottom. So you just have a teeny little bit
Oh.
of warm bits there.
Yeah, it's much more subtle now for sure.
Now, I tried dicking around with some different like decals on the helmet and the gun, and just decided against it at
Okay.
this stage. If I wanted to do that, I should have done it over on this image
Right. Right.
before I flattened everything. So that's something that I need to keep in mind. And once I got to this point, like once I put everything in here, oh yeah, the whole idea of like a snow globe. I had where are those guns? Yeah, there it is. I made a whole
Oh.
little you know, snow globe with guns on it. I thought it would be kind of cool, and it's a cool idea. I like it, but it just didn't. It was too distracting.
Yeah,
Ultimately,
I completely agree. I completely agree.
like
Like, yeah, I think iconically it's a cool idea, but it just doesn't quite. It's too distracting in the same.
but that little thing, it just takes like 5 minutes to put together, so it was no big loss of time. All the big stuff is there. Um, and once I did this whole image, and I was quite proud of myself. I was like, wow, look what I did. This looks awesome. But then I realized, like, hey, you know what? This is a well-made image, and it is a boring design. Like, there's so much more I could do to tell us about this character in terms of design that would make it a kick-ass image. For example, if he's just some kind of like militia member, someone who's not an official military member, then I would really need to, because it kind of looks like that. This isn't standard gear that he's got, so I need to
Right.
push kind of handmade, ad hoc uniform a little bit further. So maybe just have some sort of like a band around his arm, some sort of patch,
Yeah,
uh,
definitely some kind of patches on there for sure. Yeah, yeah.
make it look a little more ad hoc and less standard issue. Because right now it's a little too simple, and there's not enough character in there. Like there's no you don't see his name on his hat, or you don't see anything like I don't know, some little quirk of his personality. You don't see any of that, so it's quite a static image in that way. Technically, it's fine, but now that I've gotten to the point where I can do this technical thing, I'm uh, very excited to get started on these kind of design things to make the character or the background, the whole scene, that much more captivating and interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, cool, man. That's looking great. So, is this considered done at this point, or are you still messing with it?
No, no, this one's done. Like I'm ready to move on.
Okay.
This is one of the things that I love about digital is I learn my lesson from an image and I move on to the next one. So
Right.
the next time that I do an image, I'm going to remember more about the character, like add in those little details, like I tried to do kind of at the last minute. But next time I'll do it more at the beginning and not the end of the process, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think everybody always says like, is a project ever over or done, or you just walk away from it, right? So it's that might be the situation with some of these things. So, all right, dude. Well, I think at this point, this is a good stopping point for us, right?
We went from dragons to photo collages. Yeah, we had a nice.
good, good potpourri of everything. Cool, and hopefully next time we'll get some other friends on here and stuff. And
File on here at some point.
yeah, for sure, that'd be great. That'd be great. Absolutely. So,
Have any other concept artist friends or anyone that you'd like to?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I got my buddy George that would totally be down with doing this kind of stuff. He's actually already kind of done a little bit of YouTube stuff. I'll have to send you his link to show off what he has done. A really talented guy. He's working at Aristocrat Gaming now. And a cool guy too. Great guy to hang out with too. I really like him a lot. So one of my first good buds I made over here, as well as my other buddy Drucker. They were probably the two real good friends I started just immediately hanging out with the minute I got down here, and I still love them to death. So either way, yeah, but then they were both really stupid talented. One, Drucker knows everything about After Effects that you could just blow your mind, and he just makes everything shine like crazy and animate like awesomely. And then George is just really good with Illustrator and doing awesome vector artwork and stuff like that. So it's yeah, between the two of them, we could learn a lot of stuff.
Well, same time next week then.
Cool, man. Sounds good. I'll talk to you later. Okay.
Have a good night. Bye bye.
Goodbye. Good night, world.